AAA Construction School is your single source for all your state-required construction exam training.
Hey there, I'm Rob Arya. I represent AAA Construction School. AAA Construction School has been around for over 3 decades. We've helped thousands pass the state examination, and we can certainly help you.
AAA Construction School offers dozens of programs throughout the Southeast. And now here's Rob with a sample question.
We're going to do question 17 next, and we're going to get this thing right. It's a difficult question. Hang in there. We're going to make it. Let's take a look at the answers. All the answers are in feet. They want something in feet. Not very much either. 34 foot, 32 foot, 41, 43. Kind of close numbers, so we probably have to do everything exact. The question says the benchmark reading is 34 feet. The backside reading is 7 feet. The foresight reading is 9 feet. Ground elevation is. Well, let's take out our drawing and learn a little bit about benchmarks, backsights, and all that sort of good stuff. It won't be as bad as you think, so hang in there, break out the diagram, let's go through it. Okay, here we have a pretty drawing, and we're going to learn all the little technicalities of the drawing. We're going to learn the words, what the instruments are, stuff like that, so we can handle it. First off, let's find out what a benchmark is. A benchmark is a point of known elevation. That is something that we got to have in order to build everything from. It's a standard. It could be a nail in a tree. A nail in a tree will remain the same height forever. It could be a brass ring on a street. Some point of known elevation. In this particular drawing, it has 34 feet, and this is the usual benchmark symbol that you'll see. It's a circle with a black X in it, and it says the benchmark is 34. What does that mean? That means that that particular spot on planet Earth is 34 feet above mean sea level. They don't ever show positive if the thing is positive. They will show negative if it's a negative benchmark, and that's rare in the United States. This one is 34 feet above mean sea level. That's the benchmark. The other thing we're going to have to deal with is going to be our backsight. Now here it gets a little bit complicated. A backsight is your first reading that you take through an instrument. The instrument is called a transit or a level. You'll set it up on a tripod, and then you'll level the instrument. You'll be looking through in a line of sight. There will be a crosshair here. It's like a little telescope. You'll look through, and someone will take a rod and place it on the benchmark. On that rod will be numbers. The numbers may be of 2 types. If there are whole numbers like this is an engineering rod. If it's expressed in like a 1/4 inch or 1/8, that's an architectural rod. The technical name is a stadia rod. So you set the stadia rod up on the benchmark. You try to hold it perpendicular if you can. And then you level your bubble, and you look through this telescope, and the first thing you see is called the backsight. And the reason it's called backsight is because normally it's behind you. You're looking at something in back of you, and you're going to swing it around eventually and work in front of you. So they call that the backsight. When we looked on the stadia rod through the telescope on this, we saw the number 7 written on the rod. That'll be our backsight. If we add that to that 34, that will tell us how far above the ground or that benchmark the actual crosshairs in the telescope are. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take this transit and you're going to swing it around and you're going to face it forward to where you're doing work. And you needed to know what the elevation of the dirt was here. It may be because you're running pipe and you need to have fall. You may be digging a ditch and you want to not dig too much because nobody loves working with a sand wrench. Or you don't want to have to dig too much and have to backfill it and compact it. That gets costly. So when we swung the transit around, we looked, that's called the foresight, and we saw the number 9 written on that same stadia rod because you took the rod from the benchmark, you placed it over on the ground where you wanted to go. Now, because the number is higher, here's an interesting thing. That meant that the ground had to be lower because remember that the numbers start from the bottom and get higher as they go up. So if you're reading a higher number than you did the first time, you've got to be on lower ground. An interesting concept. Now, there's some other terminology you may see used, and let's explain it. Backsight is sometimes called first reading because it's the first thing you're going to find out. It's also called backswing, so keep that in mind. They do the same thing with foresight, just to add more confusion to the pile. They sometimes call it the second reading because it'll be the second thing you do. And sometimes they call it the front sight because that's where you'll be looking to the front of the work. Now, there's also a known formula for this to find ground elevation. If you take the benchmark, you add the back sight, you'll end up with the height of the instrument. Remember, it's 34. There's your 34 benchmark. Plus 7, that was your first reading called the back sight. You add those two numbers together, and you get 41. The crosshairs in this transit or level, whatever you're using, is 41 feet MSL, mean sea level. Now, the rule says from the instrument height, subtract foresight. Well, when we looked through the transit, swung it around, and looked to the front, we saw the number 9. If we subtract that, that will tell us where this ground is. So 41 minus 9 gives us 32. The point at which the stadia rod is resting at the second reading is known as ground elevation. In this case, that comes up to be 32. Not as bad as you thought it was, and it's going to make you a happy test day when you get these questions right.
No matter what your trade, AAA Construction School has the professional help you need to pass that exam anywhere in the Southeast. Call AAA Construction School today.